It's the weekend edition of the Locked On Texans podcast. We are joined by ESPN's DJ Bien-Aime to talk the current state of the Houston Texans and get his overall thoughts of the AFC South champions.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Better Red Nation, welcome to this weekend episode of the Locked On Texan podcast. I'm credential media member and Texan football analyst John Hickman, alongside the man with the big hat, the even bigger smile, Brian Big Sars Bearfield, also Texans credential media member and ESPN's own and Texans credential media member DJ Bien-Aime. We'll be having a thorough and fun conversation for you guys today. We'll be looking at fixing the quarterback struggles. That'll be a conversation for me and Sars to have, but we're having on DJ to talk about his thoughts on the Texans right now as they get ready to head into the playoffs and just the current state of the Houston Texans and how he has felt about this season so far. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. Guaranteed if you all you have to do is win your first $5 bet, Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Big Sarge, DJ, Texans, not the greatest of seasons, not the season a lot of fans were expecting them to have. They've lost several one-score games. Not the season a lot of fans expected from CJ Stroud. A handful of injuries, a lot of setbacks, some they've been able to overcome. But DJ, in your opinion, just kind of summarize what this season has been for you in your mind.
That's a good question, man, because it's weird, coming into the season. I know, everybody, it made its rounds, right? Me picking the Colts to win the division, blah, 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 on Me and Cons podcast. But, for the reasons why I thought that could be possible, had less to actually do about the Texans, more to do about the Colts, what they potentially could be. And the Texans having a harder schedule. I did not envision that the offense will have as many issues as it has had this year. You know what I'm saying? And CJ got called what it is, kind of regressed a little bit. You know what I mean? I didn't expect that at all. So this year has kind of been, I don't use the word underwhelming because, to be fair, they've had a lot of injuries on offense, right? Like, hey, I get it. Like, Nico's great, but that's only one guy. Quarterbacks most times need multiple guys to throw the rock to. And obviously, no Tank, no Diggs, even though Tank got hurt recently. But, Tank, Nico, and Diggs only played 3 games together. 3 full games together. Week 1, week 2. I want to say, I feel like they played all together week 3. But then week 4, Tank was hurt. And week 5, Stephon got hurt. I mean, Nico got hurt. So CJ's been without, his guys, all 3 of them for the majority of the year. So that's affected it. But then I had a feeling that the interior offensive line was going to be a problem. I didn't think it would be this bad. Well, my reason was I didn't really believe that much in Juice in the sense of like a difference maker. Obviously, Kenyon is who he is, better run blocker than his pass blocker. Shaq is solid. But since Shaq fell off a cliff, along with those other 2 guys being young and still developing, it's been a total issue to where they can't pick up stunts. And early on, it was very clear like that was going to be an issue for some parts of the year. I just didn't expect it was going to be an issue the entire year. So that's been like the biggest driver, because even though the defense has some games where they haven't played up to the standard, they've been good enough for you to feel like you can compete for AFC to get to the AFC Championship game. Right? Like, we have the Buffalo Bill game. We have what they did against Jared Goff. We had what they did against Miami. Like, there's enough games to where you could feel like, oh, okay, now the defense is good enough to get you where you want to go to. But the offense obviously has fallen short. And I didn't expect that to be the reason why we're at this point. So I would say this season has been kind of underwhelming.
DJ, you do a lot of film studying. I think that when we were together Friday waiting to go into the locker room, it looked like you were looking at film. Then you always make sure that you ask the questions that you from your film study.
Right.
in doing that and talking about sticking to the offensive side of the ball and talking about the interior offensive line, was there something that Bobby Slowik could have done to help CJ, knowing that the protection was bad? Could there have been quicker passes? Could there have been shorter routes? How could he have helped CJ this season?
Yeah, I would say for sure quicker passes, like more quick game, because CJ is towards the top of the league in time to throw. On a scale is usually 2.4 to 3.1 is usually the scale from like really fast to really slow. CJ is towards the top, towards the back end in terms of time to throw. He's usually hovering around 3. It wasn't an issue last year because the all line was good last year. Like it was good in terms of pass blocking. Like you could legitimately trust that the O line was going to pass protect. The O line was going to hold up because CJ held the ball for roughly 3.0 something seconds towards the top. Like it was like the top 5, but the pressure rate was league average because you had George Fant, you had Laramie, you had Shaq still playing well. And then again, like, Patterson, he's actually solid in terms of pass blocking. The run blocking can't move a feather, but pass blocking, he's good. So this season, they unfortunately had some regressions. So since they've had some regressions, you would think that Bobby would be all right. Let's do more quick game and play more efficiently, because especially since they see like CJ is towards the top. Probably like top 2-3 in terms of seeing too high safety looks. So you got to go quick game. You have to go run the ball. Like Joe Burrow has seen a lot of too high shells. Also, he's seen the most. And he's towards the top in terms of quick short passes percentages. I think like 50% of his passes are short passes according to Next Gen Stats, that's 0 to 9 yards. But he still can hit you over the top. And the way to do that, you have to like dink and dunk, play efficiently, make the defense get tired of giving up stuff underneath, and then you can hit him over the top. So I feel like Bobby could have did a better job of that. And I feel like towards the latter half of the season, could have stuck to the run game more. I feel like if it doesn't work early on, they kind of abandon it. And when they're at their best, it's when Joe Mixon is rolling, right? Like this, I'm not saying this is Joe Mixon-led offense, but it's at his best when Joe Mixon is hooping. Like their best games have been when Joe Mixon has played well. There isn't a single game this year I can think of where they've scored a lot of points and Joe Mixon wasn't having a good game. Like I can't.
It's not a lot of games this year where they scored a lot of points,
especially
in the second half.
Right, but all the games that they have, Joe Mixon has been hooping. So and to the last point, I feel like when it comes to the pass blocking stuff, in my opinion, I feel like they should have let CJ handle some more of the protections, mainly so. Because what's happening a lot too is teams know, okay, we know what they're going to be in if we throw this look at them. We know what they're going to call. Let's throw something that counters that's going to have a gaping hole, which is why CJ's in the top 3 in terms of unblocked pressures that's pressured him. He's top 3 according to Next Gen Stats. So for me, it's like, all right, give CJ some of that responsibility. Be like, hey, nah, I know we're sliding right. I know we're going to probably go with a bang cross right. All right. Well, not bang cross right. That's not actually what it was called. I know we're going to go with let's say like a bang standard jet. Is that what it's called? Something like that. Bang jet cross or bang jet standard, something like that. Yeah, there we go. That's usually what it's called. I was talking to a coach about it the other day. Now I'm trying to use those messages in my head. But yeah, so like something along those lines where, all right, we're going to go. I remember one of the plays where CJ got sacked, where it looked like Laramie just let a guy run past him. Nah, they were actually in, I think it's called bang, jet, cross, where they were trying to hide the running back so then Joe could get out to the, whoever was coming through, you know what I'm saying? Just so they can hide the protection a little bit. But I think give CJ that ability to be like, hey, all right, Joe might not be able to get there. Let me just motion him over. Hey, we're gonna keep the same protection. Joe, you got him. You got him coming off the edge. Simple like that, right? So I feel like they gave him more responsibility. That could also help because right now he's just all right down set hut and he's trusting the center, Jared Patterson or Juice Scruggs, whoever, to just handle it all. And I'm not saying like Juice or Jared aren't capable. They absolutely are. However, if you just add that tool to the offense, that could have mitigated some pressure, in my opinion.
Yeah, and DJ, I tweeted this out after, I think it was like the following week after the Kansas City game. I I got a chance to speak with one of the Kansas City Chiefs defensive players.
Hmm.
They said we basically only put in one, maybe two packages for the Texans. We didn't have anything, any audibles to audible out of whatever we were in. We didn't have to change anything
Right,
because we knew
right,
that they weren't going to change. And I was like,
right,
that's
right,
crazy
right,
that you can predict what an offense is going to run, and you know Bobby Slowik so
right.
well that they're going to do the same thing. And I think that one of the defenders for the Titans said that this week as well.
Just today, I think, as we record today, Friday, maybe on Thursday, but I saw that clip as well, and I thought that's extremely disheartening to hear that teams across the league, they know the Houston Texans basically are not good counterpunchers. There's
And DJ,
nothing differently that they can do.
and I didn't mean to cut you off, John, but I was going to say, DJ, also in Minnesota, Brian Flores knew exactly what they were going to do.
Yeah. No, you guys are 100% right. I wish that CJ had a little bit more control to audible, in my opinion, because I feel like if he could do that, then when they're in like no-win situations, they'll be all right. They would CJ be able to audible out of it. All right. It looked like we're gonna run a mesh concept, but they're in cover 2. All right, mesh is not good against cover 2. Let's switch it up. Or they're in man coverage, and we got these two in-breaking routes, these two digs in-breaking routes that we're gonna have someone hit going to the flat. All right, let me audible this to a mesh concept, or a rub concept, so then we can get people on the move and then be able to get somebody a free access or something like that, get tank on the drag or something like that, instead of having to put so much on Bobby. Because if Bobby's not calling it right, then CJ got to build him out, right? Or the offense got to build him out or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like the one sack that CJ took against the Ravens on 3rd and 2, they called an RPO, but the Ravens were in man coverage. It was clear they're in man coverage. Man against RPOs is not a good call.
And they don't practice RPOs.
Yeah, and they don't practice RPOs like that. They barely run RPOs this entire year. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, we're in an RPO look. All right, cool. Now I'm not saying like they don't make audibles, because like they do. Sometimes you'll hear people say can, or if they go like this, that means okay, they're probably audible into something, but that's not. Sometimes you need a little bit more on the plate, and this goes beyond Bobby. This is more of a Kyle Shanahan coaching tree issue. Because Mike McDaniel was the same way. I feel like Matt LaFleur is similar in that way, but I feel like Matt LaFleur is a better play caller than not than Matt, but I think he's a decent play caller. But again, like Bobby's only in year 2, you know what I'm saying? And that is a lot to ask, to be like, oh, CJ, now you can call audibles. I get that's a lot, but I feel like that would put the Texans in a better spot if CJ had that other ability. Because they were talking about, CJ has way more control now. CJ can do this, CJ can do that. But in reality, like what he has more control of is just making sure everybody's in the right spots and having more of a voice. But like in terms of operating stuff, like and taking it to the next level, it's still limited. You know what I'm saying? I think that that has hurt them, because people have a good book on what Bobby wants to do.
Yeah.
Let's continue this conversation with your thoughts on the Texans as they get ready to head into the playoffs. We got more DJ. We got more Texan talk on the other side. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on which player is going to score the first touchdown of the game. My favorite as of right now, how many points each team will score, the over-under on that. It's thrilling, it's exciting, and it helps me get off the couch and get into the game. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com to join for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. Make every game more exciting. Make every quarter more thrilling. Make every pass, throw, and catch more exciting with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Battle Red Nation, welcome back to the Locked On Texans podcast weekend edition with ESPN's DJ Bien-Aime. I started to say DJ Bien-Aime. That's what when I say Siri, when I ask Siri to call you, there's DJ Bien-Aime.
You know what's funny? I remember when I ran out of track meet back in college, that's what they called me. They were like DJ Bien-Aime. Yeah.
Bien-Aime.
Yeah, I was, I'm obviously like that was on the telecast.
Yeah.
So like I ain't hear it until afterwards, but I was like, I've heard that one before, but I don't know how they get Bien-Aime.
Yeah.
There's no N outside of the Bien part.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Lazy.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Hey, DJ, with the Houston Texans having one more regular season game to play against the Tennessee Titans in week 18, you and I have had that discussion. We'll have that discussion offline again about starters, if they should or they should not play.
Do you want
DJ, are you team starters play?
Hold on. You want to bring the conversation we had during the Ravens game on here?
No, because I have to ask you about the Texans we only have limited time with you, DJ. With that,
you got me till 5.
No.
We ain't got a whole hour to record now.
Yeah. But DJ, they have one more game left, week 18 against the Tennessee Titans, and then they go into the wild card. What are your thoughts on the Texans in the playoffs? Do you see them being able to turn it around and maybe make a run?
Run. When we say run, like let's specify. When you say run, you mean get to the second round or get to the AFC Championship game?
The AFC Championship.
No,
that was the prediction for a lot of people.
No.
Okay.
Nah, because like they just have too many issues on offense, and I think that just the vibes ain't great in terms of like the offensive belief, and it's just because injuries, inability to block stunts, because you gotta think about when the teams with winning records this year, teams are gonna be in the playoffs. They're 1-5. They scored, and it's not they scored a lot of points in those games either, right? Like the Lions game, they scored 23. The Packers game, they scored 22. Obviously, they beat I'm trying to think who they beat the Bills, but they scored 23 in that game. Right?
The Cowboys.
Cowboys are not a playoff team.
You're talking about playoff teams.
Just playoff team, brother. I know that's your team. They're not a playoff team. I'm sorry to tell you. Hey, but I'm a Dolphins fan, so both of our teams, they ain't Cowboy. They're getting ready for Cabo.
And you better hurry up before you get a concussion. But go ahead.
You right about that. Obviously, I'm trying to think of the Ravens. They scored 2 points. Against the Chiefs,
Kansas
they scored
City
19 points. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when they play the best of the best, their offense doesn't show up the way you need it to show up. And in the playoffs, you're going to need your offense to show up just enough, along with your defense playing lights out, and you got to run the rock. And they can't run the rock right now, right? Like, Joe Mixon was averaging over 100 rushing yards per game, and that's dropped all the way down to 76. And that's a problem to me. If you can't run the ball in the playoff, you're not going to win many games. You'll be lucky to win one at best. That's why Buffalo hasn't ever been able to get over the top. They might be able this year, but it's because they don't have a running game. Like, because think about it, let's say they win round 1, right? They're going to have to either go to Buffalo or Kansas City, where it's going to be frigid, and they can't run the ball. So you're going to ask CJ to drop back 1,000,000 times and throw a football that feels like a brick over 40 times. That's a recipe for disaster. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't necessarily like. They got the talent to possibly make a run, but it's hard for me to believe that after everything we've seen, they're going to be able to turn it around and now get to the second round. I mean, the conference championship.
But haven't we seen it before, though? And John, close your ears when I talk about this. The year that the New York Giants went 10-6, right, that year, and they lost the last game to the Patriots, who went
8-8. They went 8-8.
Were they 8-8?
Yep.
So that means Green Bay won the Super Bowl at 10-6.
Green Bay, yeah, they won it at 10-6. Yep.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that that team, the New York Giants team, did not look that good, even though they played the Patriots very well in that last game of the regular season, and then they ended up playing them again in the Super Bowl, making it to the Super Bowl. I think the Dallas Cowboys may have been 14-2 that year.
Right.
And they beat them, in the playoffs. And so it can happen, though, right?
It can happen. I think the thing is, though, how many of the other teams that barely snuck in, that crawled in, made the run either. You know what I'm saying? Like for every anomaly or exception we have a plethora of data of other teams that have tried to do that same thing, and they got swatted like a fly.
Well, what was the Joe Mixon led Bengals team and Joe Mixon?
So
and Joe Burrow?
They were 10-7. They won a division. They were 10-7. They won a division, but they beat Kansas City in the regular season.
Yeah.
So at least they showed you, and they beat the Ravens when they had Lamar earlier in that year when they dropped like Burrow threw like 500 yards that game. So like they showed you true high end stuff that year where the Texans had, like, I'll say this: if this was the Texans offense last year, but the Texans defense this year, and I'm like, oh, they just had a couple hiccups, or I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all in on that. Because the offense last year showed you like, hey, we can hit a gear. We ain't seen too many gears from the offense. Because think about it, on offense, they've only had one game where they have scored over 30. You feel me?
Yeah. So is the concern more so? You mentioned CJ Stroud and his ups and downs this year. Mm-hmm. You want to see him have more control of the offense and the blocking. But if I go back to the Baltimore Ravens game and just really throughout the year, CJ has missed some reads. He's missed some throws. A lot of those passes are selling, or the layup throws are not necessarily there this year. Is the confidence from you in CJ down just for this year? We're not talking about a career thing. We're not talking about moving forward. We're talking about right now, this year, because of some of his adversity that he hasn't been able to get over. Mm-hmm. You're not as confident in CJ going into the playoffs?
Man, that's a tough but good question. I would say I'm still pretty confident in CJ. It's just my expectations are a lot lower. So I'm confident he can reach my expectation to be an efficient quarterback, right? But in terms of like people had him in playing at that MVP level that people thought he could be at, that nah. But like I'm trying to think of what I thought preseason. So I would have been talking out both sides of my mouth, right? If I really thought that he was going to have an MVP caliber season, I would have never picked the Colts to win the division, even though I switched it back to the Texans because, all the reports were saying Anthony Richardson couldn't hit the side of a barn, right? Anthony Richardson could throw a rock in the sand. Throw a rock in the ocean standing on the sand. So I'm all right. But I thought the Texans were going to go 10-6. That was always my prediction. They were going to go 10-6 and we're going to make the playoff. I thought it was going to be a wild card, but then, eventually I thought they'll win the division, right? So if I truly thought, okay, CJ Stroud was going to have an MVP type season, there's no way to finish with 10 wins. They finished way more than 10 wins, maybe 12, maybe 13. Because for you to be MVP, have an MVP caliber season, you got to go berserk at quarterback, that is. So my expectation, I stopped confident you can be an effective and efficient quarterback. It's just, can Bobby call the game that asks him to do that? Right? Because, has he missed some reads?
Really quick. Within the last 5 or 6 weeks, are you still more so Bobby has been the issue, or have you really looked at CJ and looked at him and said, you know what, some of the throws that we were accustomed to seeing you make and your feet presence, and it's not there this year? Like, I don't think the play caller has been so much of an issue as of late as it was to kick off the year. Mm-hmm. More so as I look at the quarterback who we all had a lot of faith in, and I say to myself, he is completely off.
Yeah, man. I think it's somewhere in between the middle, right? Like I know everybody likes to blame play calling when things aren't going well. Like oh, play calling. But it's like, oh, but you ain't see this brother look like a turnstile at the New York subway, just getting ran by. You know what I'm saying? Getting just turned around. You know what I'm saying? Or like. Or you didn't see brother just drop the ball, or you didn't see like it's funny. Like I seen somebody criticizing Bobby for a play design that he had, right, where he had the two. It was against the Ravens.
The two digs, and the two I think flats.
Yeah, so that's a mirror concept. Everybody from Pee Wee not Pee Wee, maybe high school all the way to the NFL, they have mirror concepts. Like people have that all the time. You pick a side and you throw. All right. Jared Wayne was, and this might be on CJ too. You should have been looking at Xavier Hutchinson, but there's thing I can criticize in terms of why isn't Nico on the field, but that's not here nor there. If Jared Wayne doesn't get pushed so far down off the numbers when he gets vertical, right, and when he breaks blah blah blah, because Hutch ran a good enough route and he actually kind of got a little bit open, or if she throws a little bit of anticipation, then like, all right, you live with the results. But it's hard to throw anticipation when you don't really trust the guy that you're throwing into, whatever, which is fine, right? Like, that's totally fine. However, if he runs a better route, the play looks fine. So that's me going back to your point that the play calling hasn't been as bad as people want to make it seem, right? Look at some of the screenplays that people bemoan, right? Outside the one of Robert Woods against the Chiefs, me and Sarge talked about that. The screen one, because I remember me and Sarge talked about it in the media room where we were like, hey, some of these were actually kind of open. Some of the
Hutch didn't make the block on the.
it's like,
yeah. Sarge brought that to my point.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, if guys execute.
But wait, but hold on, DJ, real quickly, and John, I'm gonna push back on that because for as many as you can say it ain't the play calling, so then against the Ravens they go into 4-down territory inside the red zone and you don't throw the ball to Nico one time. You actually have him one-on-one with the cornerback that he can beat with a bunch of room, and you motion Joe Mixon over to his side and bring another defender over there.
I watched that play a couple times, and I still believe with the amount of time that line gave CJ anticipation on the throw, if he would have waited, there was an open guy right in the middle. I think in between the lines.
You throw it to John Mitchell instead of Pro Bowler Nico Collins.
Open guys,
you don't throw no passes to Nico.
Open guys and open guys.
Open guys and open guy.
But again,
it don't matter who the name is. If you open
on a 4th down play, Slowik put him in the slide, had him run a whip route, and a whip route is a perfect route to run down in the red zone. Nico just
Mixon, right?
Yeah, the one that got to Mixon, but I think Nico had a whip route first, and then he just got off it and then threw it down over there. So again, like I hear you, I do hear you, and I think so. To John's earlier point, and his question, it's a combination of everybody, right?
I agree. It's just over the course of the whole season,
everybody. It ain't just Bobby. It ain't just CJ. It ain't just the receivers. It's a combination of everybody.
I think the play calling has made CJ the way he is now, and that's the way he was at one point. Now, the last couple of weeks, like you said, John, I feel like he's starting to get more comfortable because he's realizing he has more time. But that takes time. It's like if you're in a really bad relationship, and then you get into another relationship, you don't just jump in that relationship and be like, oh no, you still got some remnants of that past relationship that was bad, and now you got to feel it out and see if this is the right relationship. So as many hits as CJ took, many hits, sacks that he took, when he does have the time, he doesn't expect that. It's like, if I'm going to get time on 1st down, then I'm going to get blasted on 2nd and 3rd.
Right. But I also do think that, where there is fair criticism, Bobby knew his O-line was a problem and didn't address that by making sure they ran way more 3-step drives, way more quick game to try to avoid that.
Let's do this because we're running a little bit long on this 2nd segment. Can we just keep you for the 3rd segment and bring this conversation back?
Absolutely, man. I'm here.
All right, so we're going to talk about fixing the quarterback struggles. One of these conversations you don't want to miss. More Locked On Texans when we come back. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the best and most of the final week of the NFL season. That's where Prize Picks comes into play. If you love football and want a chance to win real money while watching the game, Prize Picks is the best place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns, and for a shot to win up 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds, and whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or you want to cash out quickly, Prize Picks has got you covered. And with over 10 million members and billions, and I mean billions, in rewarded winnings, it's clear that people love the platform. Here's a special offer for our Locked On Texans listeners. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 bet. That's prizepicks.com, or download the app. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 bet. That's Prize Picks. Run your game. Welcome back, everybody. Before we close out today's show, we got a chance to keep DJ around and talk fixing the quarterback struggles. To Sarge's point, play calling throughout the year, very underwhelming.
Okay.
To my point, as of late, 5-6 weeks, I'm holding CJ Stroud a lot more accountable than I think a lot of people have been. The one issue that we can all agree on is a lot of these struggles, I think so, come from the hits.
Okay.
Not trusting the amount of offensive line changes and shifting that's been going on.
Right.
And to me, it seems like mechanically CJ is off. So heading into the playoffs, let's get back to that. How can they help fix some of these QB struggles?
Yeah, I think they gotta like specialize in quick game. Gotta specialize in quick game. Gotta specialize in that. Like, all right, we're gonna commit to running the ball, and we're gonna run a lot of quick game, 3-step drops, 1, 2, 3, boom, get the ball. I get the ball. I got a screen game, get the ball out on screen, quick game, maybe some 5-step drops, but that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like CJ's gonna be playing quick within rhythm and go from there. Because then once he gets in the rhythm and then some of the passing can be extension to the run game, that'll loosen up some of the defense just a little bit and kind of give CJ a little bit more room to operate. So then like maybe eventually like he can start taking some of the shots that he loves to take down the field. You know what I'm saying? Because teams know CJ can really push the ball vertically. So that's why you see them on a lot of too high looks because they want to prevent that. And the way to get teams out of that is run the ball. Because I don't know if y'all noticed it. The Texans, they started out the game with some too high looks against the Ravens and some 12 personnel to try to prevent the big play. And the Ravens were just gashing them on the ground. Like they were just gashing them. And then eventually some plays they had to go down to loading the box. So I think, little things like that to make sure that CJ don't have to throw into some extremely tight windows. Because on top of that, right, like, and this is why it goes back to some blame falls on CJ. There's times where CJ's forcing passes that are tight, super tight windows. I remember there was one play. It was, I want to say, was it the first? It was when they were down 10-0, second drive in the game. They just got a first down. And you had Dalton on a little bit of a seam with Robert Woods on the end route. It's first down, first and 10. He tries to fire it into Dalton. And obviously it falls incomplete because it would took an amazing catch and an amazing throw to make that. Where, okay, hey, you just dump it down. Now it's 2nd and like 2. Maybe you get the first down, whatever it is. But now you're keeping that rhythm going. You know what I'm saying? So just get into his head of like, hey, let's take what the defense gives up, but call plays that make it.
Me and Sarge have said that all season.
Yeah, but call plays that make him feel and make sense for C to do within the rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Like, because, like the throw to Joe Mixon, right, on the 4th down, that was too early in the play because, right, you got the swing route and you got the blocker set up. That's supposed to be your last option, right? He literally went 1, 2, and then he just dumped it down over there, right? Because, as y'all just said eloquently, the hits have kind of piled up and he's kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, but he just, his clock is a little sped up. Yeah. You can see it, right? You can see it. You know what I'm saying? So I think, in my opinion, way more quick game to get the ball out of his hands to then get your quote unquote playmakers the ball. I think like while Metch and Hutch aren't like right now in their point of career aren't the best route runners, but I do feel like if they get the ball in space, they can make plays, right? Like, because again, like most receivers, if you get to this level, you get the ball, you can make plays, especially those two guys stylistically. They're not necessarily big body guys that just go over the top of people. You get them the ball in space, and they're going to be able to try to make something happen. You can get more yak. So I would say quick game, commit to the run game, and then play action. You do those 3 things, you keep the O-line out of obvious pass situations where they got to block for God knows how long. You get Joe Mixon running, and again, you can control the clock, control the game, control the tempo, and keep your defense fresh.
Sarge, you got something to add to that?
I don't have a thing. Everything he said, I agree with.
That's rare when me and Sarge agree on stuff.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, we could talk really quick. If y'all don't know, they always argue.
Yeah, we argue.
A lot of times I feel like it's DJ starting it.
I don't start it all the time. I started sometime because I know Sarge gonna take the bait.
That's what it is. DJ came into this was after a training camp practice. I feel like you came in the tent looking for Sarge to start something.
Sometimes I do that.
Hey, look. Hey, we talked about shell shocked. I am with the DJ. Listen, let me tell you something. We were in the press box in Kansas City. I said something to DJ, and Instead of him automatically agreeing with it right off the bat, and I'm not even talking about my Robert Woods take. I'm talking
about that one. I think you're talking about that one.
No, I said something else. And DJ, instead of responding like, no, Sarge, I can see that, he waited. So I turned and I was like, bro, you don't always have to think about something to debate me on or make me seem like I'm wrong. Just if you agree with me, just say I agree with you. Oh, well, hold on. So let me think about it.
I had to think about it. I remember the first time me and Sarge ever interacted. It was at like, the media, the preseason media get together where, the Texans, they feed us or whatever. And I remember Sarge was like, yeah, man, I think the Cardinals setting Kyler Murray up for failure. And I was like, what? And then we just started arguing off of that. And I remember saying that Tracy McGrady was overrated. And, from that moment on, we built our friends, our brotherhood, because we more than friends. Yeah. We built our brotherhood on just debating. There's so many times where like Sarge would be debating with somebody across the room, and I'll make eye contact. He'd be like, DJ, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you.
And he be wanting to jump in. And John, one day we'll sit down, we'll tell you about how I was right about the Washington Commanders this year, but that's not.
Oh, yeah. No, I know you're right, though. You're right, though. You know what I'm saying? He was right. But why would I tell him that he's right, though? Why would I do that?
There's no fun in that.
There's no fun in that. There's no fun in that. It got to be clear and obvious.
That's why I started saying okay.
Yeah. He loved to say okay.
DJ, we know that you are the famous guest on the show right now, but where can all of our listeners, viewers find all of your work, any of your appearances that you do?
You find me on Twitter or sometimes. It's been a while though. I ain't been on SportsCenter in a while, and that's why I'm gonna hold a grudge against the Texans because I'm not on SportsCenter because of them. I'm not on SportsCenter because of them. You know what I'm saying? I got on in week 2 when they were getting ready to play the Bears, and I haven't been on since.
They dropping the ball.
They dropping the ball, man. They dropping the ball. They holding their brother back. You know what I'm saying? Now, am I rooting for them? No, not necessarily. But I ain't gonna act like if the Texans doing good, that ain't good for business.
It's good for business. Hey, when we come back from some of those good games they have, a lot of views. Bad games, we have more comments, and everybody just mad arguing in them comment section.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, Jonathan Alexander of the Chronicle says the same thing. He was like, when they lose, that's when people are there upset.
They mad.
You know what I'm saying? So
because they're natural contrarians. You would know something about that, DJ.
I'm not a natural contrarian. Well, I barely even argue.
Thank y'all for watching today's show. That was gonna be another 30-minute argument, but thank y'all for watching. DJ, thank you for stopping by. I'm John Hickman. Follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Also, subscribe, like, and comment to the YouTube page. Type it in, Locked On Texans. Tell a friend to do the same.
And you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Star Sports with the Z at the end.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the weekend. Peace.